Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Today, as you must have seen, I've coined a new word, refugeeism. If race can be racism, if caste can be casteism, if a nation can have nationalism, why not refugeeism, especially now when being a refugee has become a cult. I was amazed. I was shocked. I was indignant. I was angry. I was annoyed. And I was embarrassed by the absolutely inane, stupid, incomprehensible ruling of the United Nations on January 20th. And the UN ruling on asylum seekers said that the governments must take climate crisis into account. Now, we have been hearing refugees for persecution on religion basis, on their gender basis, if they are gays or lesbians. Some fundamentalist countries don't accept them. They are stoned to death. But to say that people should be given a refugee status based on climate change is insane. I had earlier said it's inane, but yes, that it is. It's weird, but it is also insane. The United Nations Human Rights Committee stated that the governments all over the world must take into account the climate crisis when considering the deportation of asylum seekers. If people come to you from absolutely rotten countries, they have to be given the refugee status. And this would especially be pertinent to countries like Nordic countries and Canada because they have a clean, pollutant-free environment. Till now, there have been no specific provisions for the people seeking asylum on the grounds of climate change. No government, including Canadian government, has any such ingredient in their immigration and refugee laws. And then, how did it happen? There is one person lone Ethiopia. He belongs to the Pacific nation of Kiribati. Now, you might not even have heard the name Kiribati. It's a small country in Pacific. And he filed a case against New Zealand in 2016 that he was denied the refugee status and he is a refugee, so he should be given. The UN committee said, well, he can be deported. But he would face not death immediately, climate change would affect others. But then they said, in future, people who come based on the climate change must be considered and given a right to being a refugee, when they are suffering from climate change. So this ruling sets forth a new standard that could facilitate the success of future climate refugee claimants. Now tell me, which country is not suffering from the climate change? Is Canada not suffering? Is US not suffering? Yes, pollution in China and India is very high. But then, have we seen the reality of the situation? If it's a global phenomenon, then every country is facing it. So this will become a rule, a camouflage, a cover for the refugees to storm into progressed, developed nations. And the next step would automatically be that in case of epidemics, the way now coronavirus is there, then the people can say, well, we are suffering. Here we don't have the medical facility, say, which we can have in Canada or in US. So we should be entitled to enter there. What is also the goose is also the gander. If climate change sufferers can be given refugee status, why not people suffering from a disease? So this ruling, setting a new standard, and now let's look at the impact it will have on the countries like Canada, on countries like India, for example. Now India itself is suffering from high level of pollution. But people say, from Myanmar can say, we have horrible climate conditions. And UN says at one time that Myanmar is a country where the people have to go out. So Rohingyas earlier were trying to have a refugee status under humanitarian basis because they are being killed as they allege by the army. And now they'll have a second string to their bow, that our country is also having a climatic condition. Now looking at the legal aspect, let's take Canada as a case. The legal experts are pessimistic because accommodating climate migrants would need systemic change in Canada. I was talking to one of the lawyers and he was telling me that if Canada wants to look itself in the mirror, it has been saying all the time, we are good people, we are that. But now, with the floodgates being opened, because every country is having a climate change, where would the cap be? Would they allow Canada to be run over by Somalians, Nigerians, Pakistanis, Indians, Chinese, all over? Because all over the situation is bad. So, government are stupid and they always want to curry favor. So, in a bid to be popular, to be deemed a good guy, the government under a leadership that doesn't take the nationalistic view might say, okay, let's take the urgent policy and legislative action according to face this threatening new reality. It's very easy to use jargon and thus defraud people. So the new reality is the forced migration due to climate change. And hint to this was given when Elizabeth May, the former Green Party leader, said that it provides an opportunity to Canada and international community to redefine the meaning of refugee. So it's an opportunity according to them because they are going to be the spokesperson of such refugees and they are going to develop new vote banks. They are going to have refugees based on the climate. And you can't refuse them because this is not a political problem in their country. So if they can't live in their home because their homes are suffering from persistent drought, then it's incumbent on Canada to do something. This is not my statement. This is a statement by Elizabeth May. Now, drought conditions in Africa, in Sahara, in Thar, in India, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, they are horrible. Middle East is horrible. So you permit everybody to come there. The water scarcity is there, and Canada has a lot of water. So whole of US, Arizona, desert people should come over here. Would you permit that? Are you aware that Canada has banned the export of water? So since you don't allow the water to be exported, it will give every right to all the people who are from water scarcity areas, and they would be about 60% of the world population to come to Canada because Canada has 20% of the world clean water to drink. When the International Displacement Monitoring Center says that 17.2 million people worldwide would have to leave their homes because of the climate change. 17.2 million. And so would Canada expect, or Norway or Sweden, accept these 17.2 million, and that's only in 1 year? It's going to change every year because climate change is going to be there. So the Global Climate Risk Index released last year showed that the poorest and the least developed countries like Myanmar, I referred to earlier, and Honduras are more adversely affected than the industrialized countries. Now here's the conundrum. More pollution is released by the developed countries and the developing countries, but the climate change is worse in the undeveloped countries. So, what do? Permit them to come here. And if you remember in 2018, Canada was identified as the worst of the G20 countries as far as per capita greenhouse gas emissions are concerned. So it itself is suffering from climate change. We have seen the brutal winters, and we have seen the fires, the wildfires because of the climate change. And it's the worst record of GHG emissions. But you can't help it because you are signatory to give asylum to refugees. Now, all combined G20 countries are responsible for more than 80% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Now, so they are emitting the greenhouse gas, except it's being felt somewhere else, and those people have a right to come here. This is the worst part of so-called equalization of poverty. This is a deranged aspect of politically correct attitude. It looks very nice to say we are human, we should share the burden. But at whose cost? At the common citizen's cost. Every time the government of Canada gives subsidies to the gas sector, every time it builds a pipeline, millions of the people all over the world are going to be affected. But does it mean to say that you should stop it? No. You are concerned with your citizens first of all. You have to give them the employment. You have to give them a proper standard of life. So, the obligation on Canada should not be there. But I can tell you right now that the present government is going to take the steps within the next couple of months to say, wow, we are good, we cannot tell, we are Canadians, so we must take up those people. He took up hundreds of thousands of the people from Syria. And one person makes a success, while more than 99% may be drones and parasites. That one success story is held up to show the success of refugees. It's a notoriously hard work to say no to the prospect of being deemed good. But you have got to do it. And I can tell you, EU countries would never accept this thing. It can also lead to legal challenges from the people whose asylum status may have been previously denied. They would say, well, we were not given because of this reason, why should we not be given this? So this is a displacement of hope. Instead of encouraging countries to take effective means to stem the tide of climate change, We are giving them incentive, okay, you are suffering from climate change, don't worry. Here are the developed countries, here are the rich countries, they will have to take you up. I can understand if there is a sudden onset of a natural calamity, there is an earthquake, if there is a shifting of the land mass, if there are avalanches, then the humanitarian aspect is there. And maybe you can take refuge. But the best thing is to settle them where they are, give them where within. But to give them refugee status is absolutely ridiculous. So it's imperative to reduce emissions. I don't deny. It's imperative to see that the climate change effect is minimized. The change is going to be there, as we have said many times. You can try to affect, but the triggering of refugeeism because of the climate change is absolutely unacceptable. No. I dare government of Canada, I dare Scandinavian countries, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, to tell UN, keep your mouth shut. Don't try to dictate to us absolutely insane, stupid ideas which can destroy our country. Until these countries wake up, there is no salvation for the people. It's you who are going to suffer. It's I who is going to suffer. And only because the politicians would like to feel good, appear good, and laugh at the misery that they will create. I dare you tell your government not to accept this UN ruling and throw it in the waste paper basket where its rightful place is. Thank you.